Hey guys, it's Skybird, and today we're going to be taking a look at one work in progress mock, as well as a discovery that I made quite a while ago that honestly I hadn't seen documented anywhere else. Though I did a lot of research and ended up finding the designer sort of talking about something. And so I actually posted about this a little bit ago, but I haven't said anything about it on the channel. Figured I'd go ahead and show you guys here as well. But that said, just make sure you are subscribed. It really does help the channel out a lot, and we are continuing to grow, so we might as well head in that same direction. But without further ado, I want to show you the work in progress for the Ornithopter build, which is this guy right here. And I'm really happy with how this works so far. In the future, what I think I will end up doing, first of all, you can see very clearly it has a dragonfly kind of aesthetic here, which I think is pretty cool. These aren't the wings I plan on using, though. I actually want to use the Tarix blades. Although apparently I only have 3 of these. I'm not sure how that happens. Pretty sure I have 4, and I just don't know where the last one is. But still really interesting nonetheless, and I think these wings help to sell the idea that I'm going for here. So right now, currently this function is collision based, meaning that when I push this trigger sort of back and forward, essentially some linkages are connecting and they're just hitting these wings which are left loose. That may be an issue in the future, so we'll see how I end up deciding what direction I go in with it, because right now it means when it's upside down that the wings are going to fall into their default position, but that still doesn't look bad. It's really cool, so I'm not going to complain about it too much if I don't head in that direction. That said, though, there is a direction I think I want to go in for this, and I don't know if I want to do creature build like this, right? This is very clearly creature inspired, but what I think I am planning on doing, if I can source more like pearl gold pieces specifically, is I actually want to put like a cockpit area back here, a big like bubble that can kind of go around the character, and the character can sit back here. Then this can either be the front or the back, and you could have this nose on the front end, which is kind of a unique aesthetic for ornithopters from the research I've done. Clearly, you know, a million different designs are out there, but a lot of ornithopters that I see usually have the pilot up the very front of the vehicle, or like on top of the wings, below the wings, something along those lines. And so I figured putting them behind the wings was actually kind of interesting and different, right? So really happy with how it is coming out so far, but as I mentioned, it is a work in progress. This is maybe 30 minutes worth of, you know, building, making sure linkages and things work just right. So there's actually not a ton of pieces in here, probably under or just around 100 here, so not anything super crazy, but really happy with how it has come out so far. And of course, the Paraka weapons I think are honestly kind of perfect for the aesthetic I'm going for as well. They just have a lot of greebling on them, right? They're these sort of like kit bash looking weapons, and so I think they really work quite nicely for this aesthetic here. I did actually have the Zactan weapons on here as well, going off the sides of this. It just felt a little bit too bulky for what I was going for, though, so I opted to get rid of those completely, and I'll probably either work them into the build later or just save them for something else. They're great weapons either way, though. So yeah, really happy with how this is coming out. The other thing I wanted to mention too is that currently the trigger, you have to press it forward, which is a little awkward. If the character rides behind the wings, then that's not a big deal, because then the trigger will be pulling it. But if I end up swapping it so that the character is still facing that direction, then I'll probably also swap the trigger mechanism so it goes in the opposite direction, just so it's a lot easier to use, right? It doesn't have that awkward kind of feel to it that this currently has. But it looks great. I like how it's coming out so far. And yeah, let's go ahead and get on to that other discovery that I was mentioning. So that actually involves the Tarix weapons, which is why I took them off of the vehicle here for a minute, just to make it a little easier for me to show you. But when I was kind of researching and also just looking at these weapons in general, because I love the design of these weapons. They're quite elegant, obviously very reminiscent of the Hordika weapons as well, having their 2 different colors. But I noticed these weapons are asymmetric, and I don't mean in the obvious sense of like favoring one side, but no, like down the middle they're asymmetric too. And I was like, that's strange. Like, why is that? At first I thought, is it Lego just introducing asymmetry for no reason, a thing that they've been known to do? And then I realized that, you know, all of these swords were like this, so it wasn't damaged. There was very clearly more plastic on one side than the other. What exactly is going on here, right? Well, I figured out, you know, for the longest time I assumed with Tarix you had to have the staff pieces in place to actually use the weapons, but you don't. You can flip them around, and although it looks a little weird to do it this direction, if you place it in the character's hand, the way that that is offset, the way that that asymmetry is, actually allows these pieces to literally slide past each other. I'm going to try and do this one-handed. It's going to be difficult though. Did I get it backwards? I did. But allows these pieces to slide past each other. That's why it's asymmetric like that. So you get this stingray looking weapon, and that's exactly what it is. Apparently, a long time ago, though I don't recall who found this information, but when I had actually published this, when I found it myself on Discord, people said, "Oh, you probably just got a damaged pair, or mine don't fit together." You know, well, it turns out they do have a left and right version of it, which seems very counterintuitive, but it's not too abnormal actually. The armor piece, for example, for the Matoro shoulder actually has a left and right variant as well. It's just the only difference is actually on the underside of the shell, so you can't see it from here. It doesn't matter, right? With this, however, it kind of matters, because if you have a left and a right version and then you try to put them together, they're just going to collide. But yeah, someone had actually sourced that apparently in like some designer talks or something like that, that it was actually originally intended that this character could carry these weapons like this, and it was supposed to be inspired by a stingray, which makes a lot of sense. It even has these little flaps coming off the front here like many different types of ray creatures have. So I find that absolutely fascinating, and the fact that it's not mentioned anywhere in the box, anywhere in the instructions, and yet you can do it is so cool. You know, now I do wish that they had shown up elsewhere, and maybe we would have seen this elsewhere in a different set, in a different model, had Bionicle continued, but very clearly it did not. And so that's sort of why I've taken on the project that I am. I've been sort of writing down just a bunch of information on how exactly I want to structure this, because as I mentioned in the last video, I want to do like 3 dinosaur / dragon creatures, 3 airship type, you know, flying vessels, and then 3 land-based vehicles. I have 1 already built. I'm working on the Ornithopter build now, and so as I'm sitting here trying to like learn from all this stuff and take inspiration from all of it, one of the things I'm trying to do is sort of expand the, not just the parts catalog for 2009, but how official parts can be used in new ways. I showed yesterday, I think, this build that I was just kind of messing around with this helmet here, which is actually the Core Hunter helmet, but I'm using it as kind of like this shoulder pad with these vents that comes up off of it, and it's such a neat idea. So I'm really happy when I'm able to come up with just an interesting use for a piece, even if that's not the ideal color that I would want for this specific use case here. It's still really fascinating, really cool, and it just kind of shows me that there's a lot more to take in, a lot more sort of left on the table, meat on the, what is it, meat on the bone or whatever, to actually get into this and delve deeper into these different types of creations. So with all that being said, though, I appreciate you guys sticking around for this one. Definitely an interesting video. It's an interesting theme. I'm super excited to delve deeper into it. 2009 was honestly such a underrated year. That's just how I'm gonna leave that. But with all that being said, yeah, make sure you are subscribed if you do enjoy the content, and of course, if you want to find more content like this, you can check out not only my other videos, but also my Discord, Instagram, and if you want to support the channel, my Patreon in the description below. And of course, I will see you all in the next one. Take care.